Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video we will see how to build a containerized app with Docker. So let me give you the step-by-step procedure of what we are going to do. We'll create a Docker file for a new container image. We'll add files to the image using Docker file commands. We'll configure an image startup. We will build and run a web application which will be packaged in a Docker image. We will deploy that Docker image using the Azure container instances. Let me just quickly log on to the portal and take it from there. Okay, make sure that you have Docker and Git installed locally. And to retrieve an existing Docker image and deploy it locally, we'll use these tools. So in a nutshell, Docker is a technology that will enable you to deploy applications and services quickly and easily. A Docker app runs using a Docker image. A Docker image is a pre-packaged environment containing the application code and the environment in which the code executes. So what we do is we create a containerized app by building an image that contains a set of files and a section of configuration information used by Docker. We run the app by asking Docker to start a container based on the image. So you create a Docker file. Out of that Docker file, you create a Docker image, and the runtime instance of that Docker image is your container. And when the container starts, Docker uses the image configuration to determine what applications to run inside the container. And then Docker provides the operating system resources and the necessary security to ensure that containers are running concurrently and remain relatively isolated. And after that, after you have created Docker images, you can use Azure container registries to store your Docker images, and then you can run containers with Azure container instances. Okay, now if I want to check, like you have installed Docker and you see if Docker is working fine, pull up the command prompt, type in Docker. I think we use this. See, Docker is not installed, or maybe it's not running. You can stop that as well. So I'll show you. So you go to hub.docker.com and you download Docker Desktop for Windows. It is downloading, and then we'll execute the installer. It is done. Click on Open File. See how it installs. So you will get this: install required Windows components. Okay, now it is installing this. Make sure you also create an account on Docker Hub as well. Okay, installation succeeded. Close and log out. So it means it is asking for a restart. So I'll restart come back. Okay, now you will see that if I do start, run and type in Docker Desktop. So I see that. So I will click on that. It will launch it. Let me also go to the correct directory. So they are saying no containers running because I've not installed anything or I've not run anything. You see here, restart Docker, quit Docker Desktop, Docker Hub, documentation you want to do here, go there. So, and if I do command prompt, if I do this, now it will give me the Docker version. Earlier the Docker was not installed, it was not giving me a version. Now I will pull the a sample app, a .NET sample app, or I would say an image from the Docker Hub using a Docker pull command. And I have not installed it directly, but that Docker pull command using the Docker CLI will interact with the Docker Hub registry where all the images are stored, and will pull that image on my local desktop. I did Docker pull. This is the registry on which this image is stored. I will do enter. This error may indicate that the Docker daemon is not running. Open the system cannot file the file specified. Okay, so if I do cd, and now if I run the same command after restarting it, it will now pull up the registry. See, pulling up the image, and it will keep this image under this folder, the one that I created. So now when I install Docker, I run the docker pull command using the CLI. It contacted the Docker hub and pulled up the latest image for this ASP.NET app for .NET Core app. So this is complete. And now if I do Docker image list, here you go. Alright, and now if I do run a Docker container using this image, now I have pulled this image. Now if I want to run a container using this image, so I will use docker run command to start a container, and I'll have to specify an image to run. Okay, I'll do this. And the command would respond with this message that you got here. Alright. So this image contains a web app. So now when this completes, see, listening on HTTP:/port 80. So if I do open up a browser like this, and I do this, and I do HTTP:/localhost 80. Let's see what I get. I do not see anything. So by default, Docker would not allow inbound network request to reach your container. We need to tell Docker to assign a specific port from our computer to a specific port number in the container by adding a -p option to Docker run command. So I'll run the same command now with Docker run /p. So I'll stop this and I'll run the same command. You see Docker run -p 8080 to 80. So I'm allowing this to run from the Docker container 8080 to map that image on my local port, which is 80. If I go here again and do this, so the command mapped port 80 in the container to port 8080 on the local computer. I'm sorry, I said it the other way. So the command mapped my port 80 in the container to port 8080 on my local computer. So this is, first it comes to 8080, then it comes the container port 80. So I'm sorry, I have to do this. See, it pulled up this welcome to .NET Core environment. So this is what I installed. Okay. Now if you want to see the active containers, I'll do docker ps. The output will include the status of the container. I'm sorry, it's not docker dash, it's docker s. Docker ps. Let me bring it down. These are the two containers which are running. You see the port field here. The ports will show that the container ID is the image running with port 80 here, and locally it's running on 8080 on my computer. And we can stop an active container by the docker stop command. So the container name is kind_yam. So if I can do with docker ID, the container ID as well. But the name of the container is also useful. So if you do docker stop the ID, it would only stop this container. Now if you would run the docker ps again, you will only see one container. You can stop this as well. Copy the container ID, docker stop the container ID. You see the both are stopped when you run the docker ps, so no containers are running. You can also restart a container. So if you would say docker start and the ID of the container that you want to start. Here, if you do docker ps, you will see one container started. And also you can remove an image from the local computer with the docker image remove command. Let me show you that as well. So let me first stop the container. Now if you want to remove an image, you docker remove command, hit enter. It says containers running the image must be terminated before the image can be removed. If the image is still in use by a container, you will get an error message. Though I stopped the container, so if I do docker kill command and paste the ID of the container, is not running. So if I do docker purge all, prune, I'm sorry, the docker command is prune. Then it would stop it. So you saw how we pulled the Docker sample application from the Docker Hub. Then we ran it on our system. We see the docker ps command. We also stopped the container. We removed the container as well from the registry. And that is how you run the basic container operation. So I hope this was informative to you. And in the next video, we will continue with this and customize the Docker image to run our own web app. Right. So if you have any queries, please mention them in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.